1, 2, 3. Dr. Sharon Lord.
Dr. Lord, thank you so much for leading the way and making all of this possible. Thank you.
Well, I don't want to waste a minute because here's my notes. Indeed, I did see, not think, as Mary and Alan and Bill and Peggy last spring discussed the concept of possibly having an all Steinway program here. I went home, and believe it or not, I was doing the dishes, Betsy. You know, my sister's here from Athens, Georgia. They piled up, and as I was doing that, I could see it realized, as though it had already happened. And then I realized why it was so exceedingly important. So I'm going to very quickly run through for you how and why I believe music shaped my life, shaped my career, which ended up taking me around the world creating policy to empower people. I think it all came from a Bill. His name was Bill Barrett. He was our band director. It came from a beautiful woman named Claudia Stewart, who was the youngest daughter of a coal mining family of 10 kids, who grew up first of all in the coal camps, and then eventually when they moved to Williamson, West Virginia, my granny said, Oscar, they have good schools here, I'm not moving. And as a result, I grew up just across the river from where Peggy Wilson grew up. But this is the magical person who put music into my heart, into my life, and did all the things that I'm going to explain to you as a psychologist that I think music does for people. So I haven't been singing for a while, although I do believe we all have a song. We all have a song to sing. I believe each one of us could dance, and I could get each of you to dance if we had time tonight. And I think each of us can play an instrument. I carry this around when I don't have any other instrument with me, and I can tell you, you can play it. So, in order to introduce you to my mama, before I tell you anything about her, I'm going to ask my sister Betsy to come up here. And Mother implanted this ability in us because from my earliest memory, she created songs. She played by ear on the black keys of the piano. I never learned to play by ear. She never learned to play by sheet music. But she did insist that all her children take piano lessons, and she saved her money as a secretary growing up in coal mining country to buy an upright piano. We were all required, all 6 of us, to take piano lessons. 2 of us it stuck with. Betsy is the director of the music school, the music department of the Presbyterian Church in Athens, Georgia, so she does that full time. But anyway, it was Mama's 60th birthday, and being just like Mama, I thought that you simply created songs about anything you thought about. And so for her 60th birthday, we sang this song to her after I ran a big ad in the newspaper, and we all flew in from all over the country. And I told people Mother was 60, and she almost killed me. I'm just like my mother. I'm only 3 years old tonight. So I want to introduce you to my mama, Betsy. Get us on key and don't let me screw up. Well, 5'2", eyes of blue. Oh, what those 5 feet can do. As everybody met our mom. Bright red hair, skin so fair, always full of love and care. Has everybody met our mom? Well, if you run into a 5'2", full of pizzazz, you will see she's full of glee. But oh, what a temper that woman has. Oh, she could sing just like a queen, and she could make music out of anything. Has everybody met her? Do you know how much we love her? Has everybody met our mom? This will just tell you a little bit about the power of a parent or someone who cares. It wasn't an easy life for Mama. My stepfather became very ill early. She worked full-time as a secretary and a second job full-time as a super mom. But at New Year's, she'd sit down at the piano, we'd get pots and pan lids, and we would prance around the house singing songs. She could make a parody for anything. She directed music at the church. She put on all the musical plays with the children. I just thought it was normal to create music. And of course I took piano to make Mama happy. And as a result, I became the pianist at the church. And Betsy became the permanent pianist at the church. And then I had the good fortune, the very good fortune, in 4th grade of having a bill. He's now Dr. William Barrett, and he became eventually the provost of the community college in Williamson. But for 18 years, he returned from New York. He decided Williamson needed a band. And so he picked students in elementary school who made good grades. And I remember when he came to me, I was very shy. And I was about this tall, and my E-flat alto saxophone case was about this tall. And he put an E-flat alto sax in my hands. Now, Mr. Barrett used to believe that girls should not play horns like trumpets and trombones because he told us it would give us fat lips. We praised Mr. Barrett at our high school reunion recently. He's 91. He is gorgeous. He's still mobile, brilliant. And in a minute, I'll talk about the power of music and neurological development, which I'm very excited about. But anyway, he not only put the saxophone in my hands, but because I knew I could read music, and I've got this treble clef here on, in case you haven't noticed it in the notes, I did master the saxophone. And so in 7th grade, he put an oboe in my hands. And he said, "Oh, Sharon, you'll find it just like the saxophone. You'll find that the fingering's just the same, and here's the reed." I don't know if you've noticed, but the reed to an oboe is a very skinny double reed, and you had to go, to make it work. I did that a lot before I got a sound. He gave me the reed, he gave me the instrument, and he gave me a beginner's book. And he's later told the story that he just knew I would go home and practice. And sure enough, I came back and I was beginning to make musical sounds on the oboe. I did end up first chair oboist in the concert band, but I can tell you I didn't know Mr. Barrett could not play oboe. He only admitted that to me later. He just knew that you just don't know, by the way, how wonderful it is to see people here. Like Bill Henry, who I haven't seen for 35 years. And he walked up and he said, "Do you remember me?" And I looked in his eyes, I said, "Not only do I remember you, you made me a hand-carved axe going into a piece of wood in the Appalachian Studies class." There are so many precious people who actually say to me, like Bill did, "You played a role in changing my life. You are going to play a role in changing the lives, not just the people at this college. I don't think you even have a clue." Like, for example, there's a little university to the east of us that has decided to follow your leadership, and they're going to now try to become an all Steinway school. So the power of my music teacher, he was also my solid geometry and trigonometry teacher. what he taught me was the power of the electromagnetic vibrations, how they change energy, how they change brains, how you can take the vibration of a sound and see a color, how you can see a color and hear a note. And while right now I'm out of practice, and so I'd have to practice again getting on that note, Bill, Mr. Barrett inspired so many students who became honor students. He required that they make a certain grade point average or you couldn't stay in the band. He taught us teamwork. He taught us harmony. He was exceedingly demanding. And yet, he said to me, Sharon, I can't wait until you make your first B. And I said, little perfectionist that I was, trying to make Mama happy, I said, why, Mr. Barrett? And he said, because it isn't fair to anyone for the world to make you think you're perfect. That's too big a burden to carry. And I can tell you that's one of the best pieces of advice I was ever given. So what happens, I don't know if you all realize what Bill Brewer does. When he gets a group of people to sing, or a group of people to transfer their breath, their spirit, into inspiration, to breathe spirit into a horn, into an instrument, into a vocal performance. You can imagine my shock and disappointment, by the way, when I arrived at West Virginia University with saxophone and oboe, only to find that girls were not allowed in the WVU marching band. Many of you know about the empowerment of women that I've been dedicated to. I was shocked. I wanted to go home, but I was going to school on scholarship. But I will say that that experience, plus Mr. Barrett allowing me to play in the all-male traveling jazz band because I won first chair. Now, I can tell you I could not improvise. When I played Midnight Sun, I didn't play da-da-da-da-da-da. I played da-da-da-da-da-da. Because I didn't know what soul was yet. Anyway, I can tell you that during challenging years in my role at the Pentagon, when I was carrying it all home with me, I could sit down at my piano, same upright piano I'd had, and same Methodist hymnal. You notice it's all taped together. And I would play through the hymnal until all the stress was gone. And not only that, I'd reconnected to Mama's encouragement, to the words to the songs, and to God. So does Condoleezza Rice. So did Cap Weinberger play symphony music in his office as we were seeking to maintain peace. He was seeking to have harmony in the midst of, the world we were dealing with as we tried to rebuild the military at that time. So the power of a music teacher, when I asked Mr. Barrett last year at age 91, what do you feel was the most important work you did? He said, without exception, the 18 years that I led the Williamson High School Band, which became a AAA world-class performing band, not because of my solo saxophone playing. The last thing I want to talk about is what I've done the last decade of my life. It took me a while to figure out why God had sort of asked me to do full-time caregiving for my husband with Parkinson's and my birth father who had some dementia and our mama who had colon cancer. And so I began to pull out of all my work and deal with caregiving. And the most exciting thing I want to say to you that I'm not sure you have a picture of yet is that the cutting edge in neurological research, in the management of Parkinson's disease, in the management of movement disorders, in the healing of the brain, comes from psychoacoustical research and healing. After I had discovered that when I stood Tom up on his walker when he was shaking, and I put music on and we marched to it, he suddenly had total control of his body. I urge you to go online. I urge you to Google music therapy, Parkinson's disease. Now there's a world of research that's just come out over the past few years. I took it so seriously, I went to study with Tom Kenyon, who's the author of Brain Mind, and one of the leading researchers who has shown through PET scans and other things the healing effect that music has on the brain. It's your nurses, your doctors, your therapists, and all caregivers in the world should be trained in it. I think it's the sort of thing a community college can do. And I'm not sure you held that in your vision, but I did. That night I stood at the sink and I thought of what music and marching and movement and Tom's acoustical healing tapes did for Tom, and then did to heal me from a brain tumor after Tom died. So, it's been a very wonderful, exciting life. I can't tell you, it was not chance. I'm tight with my money. I counted pennies under the couch to get 5 pennies to ride the bus uptown. But when I see something that is going to be magical, it's just like, I think they quoted me on this program. By the way, that's the best power pose I could come up with. When you're into creativity, music changed my life. It taught me harmony and teamwork. It gave me joy, and it gave me confidence. Music is probably the most magical way to empower children and the child in each of us. I am so delighted with your achievement. I am so looking forward to the future, and I think this man's just magic.